So we had a look at Radium, which is one package that helps us with styling React components. Another very popular package and third-party library you can use for that is Styled Components, the Styled Components library. Now, what are styled components, or what is this library about? This library is all about, guess what, styling components and making that very simple. On styled-components.com, you can learn all about it, here if you click on documentation. But of course, I want to introduce you to this library and show you the core basics of it in this course. Now, to get started with that library, we first of all have to install it. And for that, we can run this command here. So simply copy this and then quit your development server and simply run npm install -- save styled - components in your React project. And this will now install this package as a dependency. In the meantime, I will already get rid of my Radium import here and also of the Radium wrapper down there. Therefore, I'll temporarily keep this around so that I can copy and paste the style later, but we'll not set it up like this soon. In app.js, I'll also get rid of Radium, of this import here, and in there, therefore, also get rid of the Radium wrapper we have at the bottom. So let's make sure we get rid of all our Radium traces here so that we're not using Radium anywhere, because we're now going to switch and we're going to basically use CSS styling or CSS in JavaScript styling with the help of this package. So with it installed, how does this package work? How can we use styled components? Of course, the official docs or the official page has got you covered regarding that as well. And what you see there is that in the end, you will import one thing from that styled components package, and then you have this strange syntax down there. And now this is something you might have never seen before, this backtick thing here after some other code. This is regular JavaScript though. It's a feature called tagged templates, and attached you find a link where you can learn more about it. It has nothing to do with React. It is available in vanilla JavaScript as well. And in the end, what this here is a function call. So button here would be a function or a method on the styled object, to be precise. And instead of having parentheses with function arguments as you're used to, you instead have two backticks between which you can pass text. And then this text is in the end passed into this button method in a special way, which we don't have to care about, where you can learn more about in this attached link. We just have to note that it will be passed into this button method here in such a way that this button method uses whatever you pass as text here as styling for this, well, button which this method creates. Backticks in general can be used in JavaScript to create a so-called template literal. So even without that combination of a method with backticks, you can create strings in JavaScript with just backticks. And attached, you also find a link which introduces you to template literals in case you're not aware of them. It's a regular JavaScript feature, has nothing to do with React. But this becomes clearer if we use it. So let's go back to our project, and we want to style the div here in the example of person.js, right? So in order to do that, let's first of all import styled from styled-components. And then here, instead of using the div like this here, let's comment this out and let's instead return styled.div. This styled object, which we're importing from styled components, basically has a method for every HTML element you could create. So you have div here, you have a button here, you have an anchor tag, you have a paragraph, you have a h1 tag, and so on. So you have all these HTML elements available here as methods. And here we want to render a div, so we use div. Now, as you see in the official docs, then we use this strange syntax. Div in the end is a function, but we don't call it as such. Instead, we use this tagged template approach and add two backticks after it, so that we have styled div like this. Now, the obvious question is, what goes between these two backticks here, though? Between these backticks go your styles. So here we can actually go to the person's CSS file, comment this temporarily back in, and then copy this entire style and then comment it all out if we want to. Actually remove or comment out the person's CSS import here. And now between these two backticks, we add our style. However, without the person selector, instead just the style properties like this. So that we simply say this div should have these styles. Now we can also add a media query here, again, without this selector though, just with the property we want to apply. And the styled components package behind the scenes will make sure that these styles, including the media query, end up on this div which is created here. Now at the moment we have invalid code though. We have some other code down there which should go between our two div tags, the div opening and closing tag. So actually the solution here is, or one solution is to grab this, cut this, and create a new component here. So here we can create a new component, styled div maybe, and there we create our styled div with this template tag syntax. Copy in all that CSS code here without selectors as mentioned. And we'll be good to go. Now important here, I'm starting with an uppercase character because I plan on using this component right in this file. Down here, I now use styled div as a regular React component. Because, and that's really important, every method provided by this styled object, no matter if that's div, h1, or whatever it is, returns a React component. So here we're not creating a React component where we get props and return some JSX. No, because this already returns a React component. So this already is a functional or class-based, we don't know, component. So instead of creating a function here, a functional component, we just store the result of this method call in our styled div constant here because this already is a valid React component provided by the third-party library. And with that, we can restart our development server here so that we can see this in action. Make sure you're using a recent version of React for this. In my case, I'm using React 16.10. And then you should be able to click on toggle persons and actually see what you saw before. And just to prove that this works, if I remove the media query, you see now I have these bigger boxes here on bigger screens, always 60% of my screen width. If I re-add it and save and toggle, you see now this width gets applied. So now the styled components library is doing its job and is styling these components. And therefore, again, we have a nice mixture of CSS and JavaScript all in one file with the help of these styled components.